Warning, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. Hello everybody and welcome to the Derek Ruby Show. I am your host, the previously mentioned Mr. Ruby, and this is Halloween month. And you can't have a Halloween month without having a Halloween movie. So this is my review of Halloween 2. We start the movie off with a recap of the last movie. Loomis shoots Michael a bunch of times, but he doesn't go and rap about it afterwards. Then when Loomis goes to look, Michael is gone. So Loomis goes outside and he touches the blood in the grass. And he shouts at the neighbor to call the police.
Call the police! Tell the sheriff I shot him!
Who?
Tell him he's still on the loose!
Is this some kind of joke? I've been trick-or-treated to death tonight.
You don't know what death is.
Then we get a long opening credit sequence. And when I say long, I mean long. With a cool looking skeleton coming out of the pumpkin. We go straight into POV shots. We see Dr. Loomis's interaction with the police.
I shot him 6 times! What? I shot him 6 times! I shot him in the heart!
Can't have gotten very far. Come on.
I shot him 6 times!
Yeah.
This man he's not human!
I think Loomis might have shot him 6 times. Then Michael comes to a window of a house and a woman is making a traditional Halloween sandwich. And Michael walks right in because people just don't lock doors in the 70s, I guess. And while the lady is watching the news about the murders, Michael takes the knife. Then we see a glimpse of him in the background. She goes back to the table to see the butcher knife is gone, and all it takes is a little bit of blood to send her screaming. The neighbor girl comes out to check on the elderly couple, and she turns the lights on. A lot of good that does her. Michael is right there, and she doesn't see him. She goes back into the house and is on the phone with her friend and listening to the radio about the murders. And Michael just walks on in because the 70s, not locking doors and all that. She notices the door open and she goes to investigate. Laurie's on a stretcher getting loaded into an ambulance with a bunch of reporters around her. In the ambulance, Bud asks Jimmy if he knows Laurie, and he tells him that his little brother goes to school with her. All Laurie's concerned about is that they don't put her to sleep. As soon as Bud finds out who her father is, he steps on it to get her to the hospital. We see a kid walking with his mother to the hospital with his mouth bleeding severely. When they go inside, they're told to go to a waiting room as the paramedics bring Laurie in. Sorry kid, you could be bleeding pints of blood and dying all over the floor. Laurie's dad's a big real estate guy in town, so she gets top-notch treatment. The doctor takes a look at Laurie and he needs to operate on her, so he's gonna put her out. She begs him not to, but he does it against her wishes. Loomis and the sheriff are driving around and they're having a conversation about Michael. When all of a sudden Loomis has the sheriff stop the car. They get out the car to chase somebody down that looks like they're wearing a Michael Myers mask. It's crazy because when Loomis gets out of the car, he's just ready to shoot the motherfucker and not even ask questions about it. That's why we have gun laws nowadays. Needless to say, it doesn't end well.
Sheriff Brackett. He came out of nowhere.
That is the Haddonfield PD at its finest. If you see somebody that looks like a serial killer, take no chances, hit them head on, and blow the motherfucker up. What's more messed up about this is not only do they not know if they got Michael, but it's almost as if we got him, we got him. If we didn't, we didn't. Another cop pulls up to tell the sheriff that 3 people have died in the house, even though everybody in town seems to know, one of them being his daughter. So they get in the car and they leave the cop who blew up the supposed Michael on the scene. Yeah, he'll take care of this. I'm sure there's not going to be a lawsuit or anything filed. The nurse tells Laurie that she has a cracked bone, and Jimmy's there to comfort her, but the nurse wants him to leave. Then Jimmy's partner Bud says they got a call and he goes. Meanwhile, back at the Wallace residence, the sheriff identifies the body of his daughter Annie. And this is one thing I really like about the movie is the continuity of the previous one. So the sheriff blames Dr. Loomis for this, and he leaves to go tell his wife. Then Loomis and Deputy Hunt have a conversation about whether or not that was really Michael Myers that got burned up. Then Loomis convinces him how important it is to still look for Michael.
An hour ago, I stood up and fired 6 shots into him. He just got up and walked away. I am talking about the real possibility that he is still out there.
With all those reporters standing around, that won't send anybody in a frenzy or a panic, now will it? Now we see Nurse Karen with a friend and she's late for work. They get into a car and we see a kid with a boombox who runs into Michael Myers. Then Myers walks down the street as he heads toward the hospital. Because you have to have scenes with the Myers music after all. Karen gets out of the car and we see Michael's face in her rearview mirror. Wow, nobody seems to notice this motherfucker anywhere he goes, do they? We get a scene with the medical staff listening to the news about the events of the day, and we also get to see the hospital's top-flight security doing the best of jobs. Yeah, he's doing a really great job, just look at him. Then Karen shows up for work. The staff continues to have a wonderful conversation.
Every other word you say is either hell or shit or damn.
Sorry. I guess I just fuck up all the time.
What a wonderful working environment. Karen shows up and we get some flirting between her and Bud. Jimmy leaves the room and we see the door closing, and we get some more POV shots. While Karen's being admonished by the head nurse for being late, Michael just casually walks out of a room full of babies that they're supposed to be watching, and nobody notices him. I swear, everybody in this movie needs glasses. Then Jimmy reveals to Laurie the name of the man that's been after her the last 2 movies.
Michael Myers.
Michael Myers?
Yeah, he was the guy that was after you.
The nurse comes in and gets rid of Jimmy and tries to use the phone, but Michael cut the lines. So she does what anybody would do. She sends the top-flight security out there to check it out. He's so smart he left the radio with another girl that doesn't know how to use it. He notices something at the trash can, so he goes to check it out. That's security at its finest, ladies and gentlemen. There's nothing this guy can't handle. He finds a broken lock to a storeroom and he goes in to investigate. After turning on the lights, he decides something might be up, so he tries to use the radio, which obviously doesn't work. Hey, next time when you give a radio to somebody, make sure they know how to use it. But he hears a noise and he decides to go and investigate. Then we get to see a little bit more of top-flight security in action. After that wonderful display, he goes up to another door to find the source of the disturbance.
Garrett?
He's almost as good as the Haddonfield PD in the way they deal with suspected killers. Loomis and Deputy Hunt meet with the dentist, who says he cannot confirm that this is Michael Myers. The only thing he can confirm is he's probably a 17-year-old. Loomis says that Michael is 21. Then they get word that something's going on at the Myers house. Not surprisingly, the townspeople are gathered in front of the Myers house throwing rocks and things, and I'm surprised they haven't burned it to the ground. Loomis and Hunt try to get it under control, and he cocks his shotgun, which I thought for sure he was going to fire it off in the air, but he doesn't. And while Loomis and him are smoking and having a conversation, some kids come up and tell them something interesting.
Mr. Hunt?
Yeah, what is it, Craig?
Yeah, I'm worried about Bennett Tramer.
He isn't home yet.
Yeah, and he left the party at 10.
It's only a little after 11, boys.
He was real drunk.
How old is he?
17.
He had this stupid mask on.
Great job, Haddonfield PD. You really know how to react to situations. Karen hears the nurse call buzzer while she's in the hallway, so she goes down the room to see what's the problem. And she gets a surprise. Bud and Karen flirt for a little bit, and they go ahead and make some extracurricular plans for later. Laurie has a flashback dream with her mom saying,
I told you. I'm not your mother.
And there's blood dripping on the floor. Very nice touch to the atmosphere of the movie. Bud and Karen go down to the therapy room for a little extracurricular activity. Michael turns the heat up on him. Bud goes to investigate. Then we get some voyeurism from Michael. And he has a little bit of fun with Karen as well.
Now, Bud, don't be that way.
The cops and Loomis are at an elementary school where Michael has been, and there is Sam Hain written in blood on the wall, and Loomis explains to everybody what that means.
The Festival of Samhain, October 31st.
Then Marion Chambers from the sanitarium comes to talk to Dr. Loomis, and she informs him that the governor has ordered a marshal to take him away from Haddonfield. Jimmy goes to Laurie's room to give her the whole "I'm gonna protect you" speech. Then he realizes that she's comatose and not responding. Apparently she's having some kind of reaction to the medication. So he sends the nurse to go get the doctor. She goes and looks for him and sees the shower on, and she goes into his office. But the doctor is not reacting. Guys, this is one of the coolest scenes in the entire movie because it's a definite callback to the first Halloween, and I love the way he looks when he comes through the shadows. Jimmy leaves to go find help, and the other nurse leaves because she hears the call button. Then Michael goes in for the kill. He's surprised as Laurie has given him the slip. The nurse comes back and finds that Laurie's gone. Laurie ducks into a room and she checks the phone and finds it's dead. She crawls against the wall, peers down the hallway, and sees that nobody's there. She leans up against the wall, shuts the door, and she passes out. Meanwhile, the marshal escorts Loomis to take him away from Haddonfield. Michael sneaks into a room, and then Jimmy sneaks up on the nurse, and they come up with a plan right in front of Michael, and they go their separate ways. Can't anybody see his silhouette sitting right there? All you'd have to do is turn around and look. Jimmy finds the head nurse and it appears she's taking a nap. Now he's taking a nap himself. The other nurse goes to her car and it won't start. And she looks around the parking lot and all the cars have been sabotaged. Laurie is hobbling on the move again, and as she's going down the hallway, the nurse finds her and she keeps yelling for Laurie to come. But she's disoriented and doesn't come right away, and it's probably a good thing. And now the chase is on. And by chase, I mean Laurie hobbling and Michael walking like he's just going for a stroll in the park. Laurie goes down some stairs, she goes through some doors, and she bumps into top flight security. Michael comes in after her, but she's able to make it through a window. Laurie makes it to an elevator and she's pushing the button frantically. Michael's just briskly walking through some glass, no big deal. Jesus, why don't he just run after her? If he just ran at her, I don't know, even just a mile an hour, she'd probably be dead by now. But no, he takes his time. Gee, I wonder how she got away. Laurie, of course, makes it out of the hospital and she runs and hides in the car. She still has to take a look around, but then she doesn't see anything and just gets back to hiding, which is what she should have done in the first place. Loomis is in the car telling another one of his big stories, but then a nurse reveals a secret.
That girl, that Strode girl, that's Michael Myers' sister.
After Loomis hears the story, he tells the cop to turn around, but he doesn't want to. So Loomis takes matters into his own hands.
Fire a warning shot, right?
Jimmy gets in the car with Laurie and he tells her everything's going to be alright. He tries to start the car, but it won't start, and then he passes out from his injuries. Laurie gets out of the car and falls on the ground. Loomis shows up and gets out of the car, and she tries to yell for help.
Help me!
A little bit of a delayed reaction there, Laurie. You could have tried a little better than that. Laurie gets up, but she sees Michael, and the chase is on again. She beats on the door, and they let her in just the nick of time. Then Michael busts through the door, and he gets shot again. And he still doesn't rap about it. Then they argue for a few minutes about whether or not he's still alive. Surprise, surprise, he is.
No!
And here we go again with the slow-paced chase. Loomis and Laurie hide in the room and they lock the door. Michael breaks through it like it's nothing. He tries to shoot him, but he doesn't have any more bullets. So Michael stabs him. But then Michael goes after Laurie and she defends herself. Now Michael is blind and swinging in the air violently. Laurie and Loomis take turns turning on all kinds of gas in the room. Laurie escapes and then we have our big grand finale.
It's time, Michael.
After Michael walks through the flames and collapses, the worst appears to be over. Laurie is loaded up into the ambulance, and the movie ends with her having a stone-cold face. And that was a great end to the series, as we never heard from Michael Myers again. Damn it! That was Halloween 2. What do I think about it? It's an excellent sequel. A lot of people say this movie isn't as good as the first one because it's not. It builds heavily on the continuity of the first one, which I like a lot. I also like the choice of mask for Michael. The scene where he fades through the background and kills the nurse is very reminiscent of the first one, and I like it a lot. A lot of people say that this movie's too gory, but it's a slasher film. This movie was made in 1981, 2 Friday the 13th movies had already been out, a bunch of slashers, and having gore in slasher films was in vogue. In order to keep up with the Kardashians, as they say, Halloween had to make some changes. And I think they're very effective. The town's in a constant state of panic. People aren't acting rationally. Sometimes they're even acting very stupid. The ominous feel of the hospital setting really works for this movie. There are some times where the scenes jump all over the place. Some things don't make sense. Sure, the acting is bland in this movie compared to the previous one, except for Jamie Lee Curtis and Donald Pleasance. But overall, it's one of the better entries in the series. So I'm going to give Halloween 2 4 stars. So thank you guys for listening to the Derek Ruby Show, and this ends our second annual Halloween month. I hope you guys enjoyed it just as much as I have, and hopefully we'll do it again next year. Don't forget, you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram. And as always, have a good one, and I'll see you guys next time. Happy Halloween, everybody! That is the Haddonfield PD at its finest. If you see somebody that looks like a serial killer, take no chances, hit them head on, and blow the motherfucker up.